We also have obviously got to help the people who are the victims of the present economic calamity. We are working a great deal on work programmes actually to address the problem, very relevant to the North East, the very large numbers of unemployed people at the moment who are obviously going to need support, retraining, help in getting back into employment. Again, one of the cliches is, you know, in the wicked 1980s, we neglected all those things. Actually, I used to work with David Young on what we called Action for Jobs. We had a thing called the Community Programme. We had a thing called YTS. You know, some bits were better than others. They were all derided because they weren't in trade unions and they weren't paid the going rate and they weren't real jobs because they didn't get all their hands dirty. But and some of this has been taken out of the drawer now. The job guarantee scheme strikes me as the Communities Programme with a different title. We have moved on beyond that. We've produced a great programme at the party conference. Well, you might not have noticed because the media don't actually take any notice of policy programmes if you produce them. But we have a work programme in order to actually, using outside agencies, paid by results to a much more dramatic extent than the experimental way, really, which it's been done so far, to actually deal with young unemployed out of work for more than 6 months, being paid by results and actually giving the skill training, the advice, the support to get people into jobs, including the one I'm most involved in at the moment, trying to revive actually what we had in the late 80s was the Enterprise Allowance Scheme, which helped actually unemployed people get into self-employment. And it was remarkably successful. Self-employment's been neglected the last 10 years. It's not ideologically sound. The proportion of the population in self-employment has somewhat declined during the last 10 to 12 years. But in fact, we got a lot of unemployed people very successfully self-employed, businesses of their own, employing other people. I'm always meeting them. I'm told Wendy, actually, and her husband started a business under the Enterprise Allowance Scheme many years ago. The present unemployed includes a whole generation of people, some of them very, very able and entrepreneurial people who just happen to be leaving school or leaving university at the wrong year. Whole mass of them. There are a whole lot of people being made redundant from highly responsible and skilled jobs. You know, this is not that classic picture of the man in the flat hat and the dole queue. We have extremely bright entrepreneurial sort of people at the moment underemployed, and with the right sort of support and with the right kind of assistance, many of those people can become self-employed, and many of the ones who don't quite fit my description but are good skilled tradesmen who want to set themselves up as a plumber. That's the kind of scheme we can have in what we call our Work for Yourself programme. You need mentors, as long as you select carefully the people who are mentoring so they've got real skills to help people through the maze of setting up a business and trading on your own account. And you need, of course, some financial support. All part of, I won't go on longer, about a considerable programme that we're putting together to actually help people prepare to move into an economy we hope we can stimulate by preparing the right climate and getting the economy right, run on sound and a sensible basis. We've got to get it right as quick, if not quicker, than most of our competitors, all of whom are reeling from the same blows. Sadly, we were worse hit here than most because we'd allowed financial services to become a bigger proportion of our economy than anywhere else. The worst excesses and the worst failures of regulation took place in the City of London and Wall Street. So crash went the biggest, this bloated proportion of our economy. We had one of the worst house price bubbles in Western Europe. We actually rivaled the Irish, the Spanish, the Americans, having a real house price bubble which collapsed, and the British were very fond of borrowing money on their house in order to consume. We had the highest level of household debt, sadly we still do, of any Western country, and we had shattered our public finances before the recession even started, which is why we have by far the worst deficit and debt problem in the G7, all of which has to be tackled. What will come out of this, I trust, and we've been through recessions before, this just happens to be the longest and deepest that anybody now alive can remember. What happens is we build a new economy again. We have been the laughingstock of the world in the past. We've ceased to be that. We were a modern, dynamic, competitive economy. We've got to show we can pick ourselves up, change rapidly, become a modern, dynamic, competitive economy again. And the North East has been some difficult times, but has achieved some very considerable successes in responding to the dramatic changed events in recent years. So I hope, if we do have a change in government in May, which you'll not be surprised to know, I'm very much hoping we do, look forward to working with leaders of the community up here, helping to produce a new economic base for the North East, which will be able to compete and able, I hope, to enable the North East to participate fairly in the increased prosperity of the country and no longer have to spend so much time talking about how we close the gap between here and the leafy lanes of Surrey and the centre of the City of London. So thank you all very much.